Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Ibrahim Traoré's era. I don't even know where to start from, because what is happening in Burkina Faso right now is just mind-blowing. At a time when much of the world is sinking under inflation, debt, insecurity, and foreign control, one small nation is achieving the unthinkable. Yes, Captain Ibrahim Traoré has shocked the world yet again. On one side, he is battling terrorists, pushing back against neo-colonial domination, and strengthening his army. And on the other side, as if with a second pair of hands, he is building his country with a speed that Africa has not witnessed in decades. Just this week, Traoré launched Burkina Faso's state-owned public transport service, with 500 brand-new buses proudly carrying Burkinabè colors and symbols. Clean, modern, strong, and he declared that another 500 will arrive before the year ends. But the real shock is not the buses alone. These buses are being rolled out right after Traoré completed 4,000 kilometers of newly paved roads, roads linking villages to towns, towns to cities, and cities to the capital. Roads that let farmers take their produce to markets, traders move their goods, and children travel safely to school. These buses will be completely free for students, teachers, and the elderly. Yes, you heard that right. Free transportation for those who need it the most. Now tell me, family, which African country is doing this today? Which leader is lifting up the poor and making them the first beneficiaries of national progress? Let's not forget where Burkina Faso stood just a few years ago. Before Traoré's rise in 2022, this country ranked among the least developed in Africa when it came to road infrastructure. Since independence in 1960, Burkina Faso had only about 3,000 kilometers of paved roads outside its capital that could be considered of international standard. 60 years of so-called democracy, and hardly anything changed. Road contracts were always handed to French companies. Those firms overcharged Burkina Faso hundreds of times the real price, pocketed the profits, and left behind unfinished, poor-quality roads. Citizens were left with dust, potholes, and broken promises. But Traoré rewrote the story. He nationalized the road construction sector, invested in modern road-building equipment, trained Burkinabè engineers, and empowered local contractors. Suddenly, the billions that once disappeared into foreign accounts are staying in the country, building the country. In less than 3 years, 4,000 kilometers of paved roads. Think about that for a moment. For a landlocked nation like Burkina Faso, this is nothing short of a revolution. It means easier access to markets, lower transport costs, fewer accidents, and above all, dignity for the people. Now let's come back to the buses. These are not just vehicles, they are symbols. Symbols of movement, of unity, of progress. Before this, transportation in Burkina Faso was a nightmare. Overcrowded minibuses, broken taxis, unsafe motorcycles. This was daily life. Students in rural areas walked long distances to school. Farmers had no reliable way to move their crops. The elderly struggled to even reach hospitals. But with these 500 buses, the story has changed. Painted in national colors, each bus carries a message. This is Burkina Faso's future, and the policy attached to them is genius. Students, the nation's future. Teachers, the backbone of society. And the elderly, the wisdom of the people. All can now travel free of charge. This is not just economics, this is justice. For the first time, the poor feel seen. For the first time, the state is saying, we value you, and we will carry you forward. But we must not ignore the deeper meaning. Every kilometer of road, every bus, every free ride is also a blow against neo-colonial control. The foreign firms that once looted Burkina Faso's wealth are gone. Their overpriced contracts are gone. Their exploitation is gone. And now they are watching in disbelief as Traoré accomplishes in 3 years what they could not in 6 decades. That is why this is more than development. This is independence in action. This is a declaration that says Burkina Faso belongs to Burkinabè, and we do not need the West to move forward. The response of the people has been overwhelming. Crowds lined the streets to witness the buses arrive. Students shouted Traoré's name. The elderly lifted their hands in prayer. Teachers wept openly, saying this was the first time in their careers that a leader had remembered them. One grandmother from Ouagadougou said, "For the first time I feel like my country cares about me. I never thought I would live to see this day." A young student declared, I will work harder in school because my president believes in me enough to give me free transport. This is the psychology of progress. It is not only about concrete and metal, it is about giving people pride, dignity, and faith in their country again. And Africa is watching. Across the continent, young people are pointing to Burkina Faso and saying, if they can do it, so can we. From Ghana to Nigeria, Kenya to South Africa, everywhere the Burkinabè miracle is being discussed. Meanwhile, Western media is silent. They cannot admit that a so-called poor African nation is doing what even they struggle to achieve, because if this truth spreads, it will inspire revolutions across the continent. But here on Ibrahim Traoré's era, we will not be silent. We will tell the world that Africa is rising, that Burkina Faso is blazing a trail, and the beauty of it all, this is only the beginning. These buses, these roads, this vision, they are the seeds of a future where Africa does not wait for charity but builds its own destiny. 4,000 kilometers of roads, 500 buses now, another 500 on the way. Traoré has said it clearly, Burkina Faso will shine as Africa's light, and he is proving it, step by step. In a country where leaders used to boast about small donations from the West, a few second-hand buses here, a patch of tarred road there, Traoré has flipped the script. He has shown his people that they do not have to beg, they can build, they can own, they can dream big. Now picture this. A student in rural Burkina Faso wakes up early in the morning. In the past she would walk for hours in the heat, dodging unsafe motorbikes, struggling through dust just to reach her classroom. But today she walks to a paved road, boards a clean bus for free, and arrives in school on time, ready to learn. That is not just transport, that is transformation. Or imagine an old man in a village who once traveled in pain on a donkey cart, just to reach a clinic. Today he sits comfortably on a state bus, rides on a smooth road, and arrives with dignity. That is not just development, that is justice. This is why the people are celebrating, because they feel the change in their bones. Not statistics in a report, but daily life improved. And brothers and sisters, do you know the best part? These roads and buses are owned by Burkina Faso. No hidden foreign loans, no crippling IMF conditions, no contracts that mortgage the country's future. Paid for, built by, and serving the people directly. This is why the West is silent. Because Traoré has just destroyed their favorite lie, that Africa cannot build without them, that Africa must always depend on aid, that Africa must always wait. He has proven that with leadership, courage, and honesty, Africa can move mountains, and Africa is watching closely. Leaders who thought it impossible are now feeling the pressure. Citizens in other countries are asking, if Burkina Faso can do this with less, why can't we do more? This is why Traoré is dangerous to the system. Because he is not just paving roads, he is paving the path to African liberation. And if other nations follow, the empire of dependency will crumble. So let it be clear, every road laid in Burkina Faso is more than infrastructure. It is a declaration of war against poverty, against humiliation, against foreign domination. It is the roar of a nation saying, we are awake, we are moving forward, and nothing will stop us. Now let us pause and reflect on what these buses truly mean. They are not just machines carrying passengers from one town to another. No, they are rolling symbols of change, painted in the colors of national pride, carrying within them the spirit of a people who refuse to be left behind. Before now, public transport in Burkina Faso was chaos. Old minibuses, rusty taxis, unsafe motorbikes weaving through traffic, overloading that risked lives every single day. Students trekked for hours. Farmers carried their produce on bicycles. Mothers struggled to bring children to clinics. The poor were trapped by distance. The rich could move, but the majority were left stranded. Now, Traoré has flipped the story. With 500 buses on the streets, and 500 more on the way, the nightmare of movement is being replaced by the dignity of mobility. The roads are no longer for the privileged few. They belong to every Burkinabè, young and old, rich and poor. And here is where the genius of Traoré's policy shines. Students, teachers, and the elderly ride for free. Yes, free. Think about it. Students are the future, the ones who will inherit this revolution. Teachers are the backbone, shaping the next generation. And the elderly are the wisdom keepers, the living libraries of Africa. Traoré has chosen to lift them first, to say to them, you matter most, You will be carried forward without burden. Do you realize how rare this is? In a world where even wealthy nations charge high fees for transport, a small West African country is saying, education will not be limited by distance, knowledge will not be blocked by poverty, respect for the elderly will not be lip service, it will be practical. This is why the people are crying tears of joy. A student from Ouagadougou shouted, "Now I can reach school every day without fear. I will not fail, because my country carries me." A teacher whispered, "For once I feel honored. My nation has remembered me." An old grandmother raised her hands in prayer, saying, "This is the first time in my life that I feel truly respected." Brothers and sisters, this is not just development, this is revolution on wheels. And the beauty of it is how ordinary it looks. A bus pulling up to a stop, children laughing inside, teachers reading newspapers, elders resting peacefully as the city passes by. But behind this ordinary scene lies an extraordinary truth: a nation is rewriting its destiny. These buses are also creating jobs. Drivers, mechanics, cleaners, ticket officers, administrators, thousands of Burkinabè are being employed. Money that once leaked out to foreign corporations is now circulating in the local economy, feeding families, building communities. And let us not forget, these buses are not gifts from abroad. They are not leftovers from Europe. They are investments made by the Burkinabè state, paid for by Burkinabè resources and serving Burkinabè citizens. That is why they shine so brightly, because they carry dignity, not dependency. But beyond transport, there is something deeper here. These buses represent movement, and movement is life. For too long, Africa has been kept stagnant, trapped in cycles of poverty and dependence. These buses say, we are moving forward now. Africa will not remain in the past. We are on the road to the future. That is why other African nations are watching. In Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, and South Africa, people are asking, if Burkina Faso can provide free buses for its poor, why can't we? The example is contagious. It spreads like fire. It challenges every African leader who still believes progress is impossible without the West. And so, brothers and sisters, understand this clearly. These buses are not only for Burkina Faso, they are for Africa. They are proof that dignity is possible, that vision is possible, that leadership is possible. They are wheels carrying a whole continent toward freedom. This is why Traoré is dangerous to the old system, because he has shown that progress does not need permission, it only needs courage. Now ask yourself, if a landlocked nation like Burkina Faso can do this in just a few years, what excuse do the resource-rich nations of Africa have? What excuse does Nigeria, with its oil? What excuse does Congo with its cobalt and diamonds? What excuse does South Africa with its industries? The truth is they have no excuse. This is why Traoré's example is dangerous to failed African elites. He has proven that poverty in Africa is not natural, it is man-made. It is caused by corruption, by dependency, by leaders who prefer to beg abroad rather than build at home, and the people are beginning to see it. That is why from Accra to Lagos, from Dakar to Nairobi, Africans are pointing to Burkina Faso and saying, if they can rise, so can we. But my family do not think this road will be easy. Already foreign powers are worried. They whisper, this man is moving too fast. He is showing Africa too much hope. They know that ideas spread faster than weapons. And Traoré's idea, that Africa can stand on its own, is spreading like wildfire. This is why we must protect it. Because every kilometer of road in Burkina Faso is a strike against neo-colonialism. Every bus is a rejection of dependency. Every free ride is a declaration that the poor matter, that the forgotten matter, that Africa matters. And let us not forget, this is bigger than roads and buses. This is about dignity. It is about leadership that puts people first. It is about proving that Africa can feed itself, transport itself, defend itself, and govern itself. For 60 years we were told to wait for aid, wait for loans, wait for the West to save us. But Traoré has stood up and said, we will wait no longer, the time is now, and that, my brothers and sisters, is why this story matters. Because what is happening in Burkina Faso is not small. It is history, it is revolution, it is a glimpse of the Africa we can all build if we dare to believe. Today in the streets of Ouagadougou, in the buses filled with laughing students, in the roads carrying farmers and traders, we see the return of that leadership. We see proof that progress is possible, even under pressure, even under sanctions, even under threats. Traoré has taught us something that every African must remember. Liberation is not given. It is built, brick by brick, road by road, bus by bus. And so, my family, the question is not whether Burkina Faso can rise. The question is whether Africa will rise with it. Because if one small nation can defy the odds, then all of Africa has no excuse. This is the message the enemies of Africa fear most, that we can live without them, that we can build without them, that we can rise without them. So let us carry this lesson forward. Let us spread it in our schools, in our markets, in our villages, in our cities. Let every African child grow up knowing that our destiny is not in Paris, not in Washington, not in Beijing, but here, in Africa, on African soil. Because the revolution has already begun. The buses are rolling, the roads are stretching, the people are rising, and nothing, not France, not the IMF, not any empire, can stop the roar of a people who have decided to stand. This is Ibrahim Traoré's era. And remember, the future of Africa is not tomorrow, it is now.